Welcome back, everybody. It is the Dreamhack Dota 2 Invitational here, and we're going to be getting into Game 3 between Dignitas and Alliance here in just a second. We do have a couple of things to talk about, though, before we do that. First and foremost, Dignitas, they had a pretty strong early game. They got picked off a handful of times, bit of greedy play, I would say, overall, and it just allowed Alliance to get themselves back into the game.
Yeah, like I mentioned before we went on a break, they pretty much played it like they did Game 1, whereas the way they played it didn't punish Alliance as much as it did Game 1.
Yeah.
Because they didn't focus on pushing. They focused on going late game and just farming up the Alchemist as well as getting the Blink Dagger up on Mag and just being super strong in team fights instead. So it really worked out well for Alliance in the end. And yeah, we'll have to see what they want to bring out in Game 3.
Well, before we get into Game 3, we do have Bruno, of course, and Scriff once again joining us for this finals broadcast. And correct me if I'm wrong, Bruno, but you may or may not have some stats.
What do you think? Do I have some stats?
Always.
Always.
I believe.
I believe as well. Let's go. So this time we're going to talk about team, and this team we're talking about is Team Alliance. Of course,
No Tide.
aka No Tie Hunter, but we'll soon forget about that name and just be reminded of Team Alliance and their dominance in the scene. And as we can see, this team not too good against Wisp.
Nope.
And Team Dignitas very good against Wisp. I'm not surprised that the first thing that Alliance banned this game every single time was Wisp. They just don't want to see that hero. They don't want to even risk trying to get it because they know that if Dignitas can get their hands on that, they will play it. And that will mean that Dignitas will have to play a completely different game than the one they're playing right now, because right now they're going greedy with lots of heroes that need farm and levels. Of course, Wisp still needs levels, but it's more of a traditional support. And if you want to run him alone, it would force them to just play differently.
Yep.
Worst heroes, I always laugh at that. Worst heroes,
Yeah.
the faceless void.
The faceless.
Lotus Spheres. Sorry.
Yeah.
Always.
It's
something
kind
in
of
his throat?
cold in
Little
here
bit.
in Sweden. On the other hand, we see very, very good heroes for them. DK, they lost one today.
Yeah.
Game 1.
They did.
So the 6 hero is now 6-1.
And another one with Puck.
And they lost another one with Pugs. So they were playing to their strength, to be
Yeah.
honest. But that didn't work in Game 1. They changed their strategy. They just went for lots of powerful frontline with Magnus, Alchemist, and Lone Druid heroes with which they're not particularly good nor bad with. But it worked for them. So strong there. And best against Silencer, because who's not best against Silencer? Poor hero. I was...
They're really good against Darks here as well, though. 13-1. That's really impressive.
Well, now it's 14-2.
That's 14-2 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, it's a great record, and I mean, having said that and having looked at this, I still think that Dignitas are doing the right thing in going for the lineup. They're going for something different, and that's the thing. It's hard to adjust to a team that plays so different from every other team, because unless you scrim with them, unless you practice against them, anything else will not really be useful in terms of how to fight that. And Dignitas' biggest strength at the moment is taking advantage of this kind of passive game style that the metagame has shifted into and saying, okay, if everyone's playing passive, I'll just get lots of heroes that can get levels, and can get farm, and can get towers, because the metagame is not prepared for that.
Something I've seen Dignitas is really good doing, though, is getting the levels on those supports.
Yeah.
Like by pulling. Like they always do the pull into the second camp, things like that. I remember, was it against Pandas in some other tournament, where they had a Shadow Shaman who was the same level as the mid.
Wow.
Just from pulling.
Just from pulling.
Yeah, level 3 or 4.
But he did have a DDR in that game. It's important to remember that, because that's how he was able to kill the camp so fast.
Yeah, that's true. Like,
Still, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
So we're going to see what happens now in the next game, and we're back to you, Andy, with some predictions. What do you think Alliance or Dignitas have to do this game?
Well, I can't necessarily make predictions because the game's actually started.
Oh, damn.
So I can see the draft. So instead of actually making a
You
prediction,
should have
I
made
can,
a prediction
Yeah.
and
I
looked
can-
like a guru, man.
Well, people would have caught on. People are smart. They would have been like, oh, yeah, it's already like 3 picks into the game. It's not really a prediction when you already know what's going to happen. But we can actually take you guys inside the game right now. So Dignitas, they're actually not going to be the ones who get first pick here. It's going to be Alliance here for the third game. They also get Radiant side. Also, just for people to know, it is USC's this game. And Alliance, they get the first pick, Nyx. They also get their hands on a Chen and a Nature's Prophet. But Dignitas, they're going with the tanky setup here so far. They're going to go with the Life Stealer and a Lone Druid.
Yeah, and I really like the decision that they did in the banning phase. I mean, leaving in Nyx is always a bit scary, but picking up a Lone Druid as well as a Lifestealer, they can handle to go up against the Nyx. I mean, the
Yeah.
supports are what they're going to be really careful about, like not picking too squishy supports with them. Maybe go for a Jakiro together with the Lifestealer. They usually like to run the Jakiro just because it's generally a very tanky hero, as well as it works well with the Lifestealer if they want to run some sort of aggressive lane, because usually Universe plays a Lifestealer. But they banned the Keeper as the last pick and gave the option to Alliance. Either you pick a Lone Druid or you pick a Nyx. Or a Nyx, because we're going to take the other one that you don't take, because it doesn't matter, like, we got our plan with it. So we'll have to see what they want to go for as their third pick now, but they got pretty much everything open. They could go for a Storm Spirit if they want to be annoying, but Nyx is quite annoying against the Storm Spirit as well, but having that bomb is always good to have. Maybe go for a support to throw Alliance off a bit, but they're going to go for Mag instead.
And Dignitas has a massive team fight push. They have durability between those three heroes. It's very similar to what Alliance actually took in the second game in terms of the first three picks out here. And now Alliance, they're going to go ahead and ban the Leshrac, so they obviously don't want that open wounds into the Lina stun combination going out. And that hero with Lina is pretty interchangeable. If you end up making that aggressive tri-lane or you end up making it just a farming lifestealer, the option is pretty open to you at this point if you're on the side of Dignitas. But Alliance, they have a team who is a lot of support so far and not a whole heck of a lot of damage. The last two picks that they get have to be huge impact heroes, because right now a Chen, a Furion, and a Nyx, not really the highest damage dealers on their own, especially considering that Nyx is pretty much going to be played as support.
Yeah, most likely we're going to see EGM play that Nyx. I mean, we can still see it in mid if they keep on banning out these strong mid heroes. Or Storm Spirit isn't really a strong mid hero, but he can have such a good impact on the game if he gets a good start. But Queen of Pain being banned out, so Mag is going to have an easier time in mid. We might actually see a Puck being the last ban out as well. Though Puck, like we mentioned before, doesn't really have that much of an impact. I mean, you can have a really good game, but it's very hard to have that really big impact that you want of the last two heroes that they're going to pick up. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of carry they want to go for. Maybe go for an Alchemist again, just to have someone strong, hard-hitting. But we'll have to wait and see.
I do feel like Alchemist would fit in pretty nicely here. I guess I kind of poked fun at the worst heroes thing when we talked about the Void, but that's a pretty good choice here, just because he gives you the potential to actually stop the early game engagements and maybe turn it around in your favor. But again, they don't have a whole lot of follow-up for it, even if they wanted to go that route. So I'm not really sure what carry that they're going to have left, and Bruno making a cameo here on the mini-map. But regardless, Alliance still, they need their carry. They need potentially an offlaner if the Nature's Prophet's going to be jungling. I'm assuming it's going to be Admiral Bulldog playing on that, but no matter what, Alliance needs some form of damage output now.
Incoming Spectre plus Warlock? No, but would be fun to see, so to get some global strap, but I don't think that they'll probably not go for it. I mean, Spectre is a strong carry, and Alliance do like to run it if they can get their hands on it, but
against a Lifestealer?
Yeah, exactly. In this lineup, I don't think it's going to fit in that well, and Dignitas is actually banning out the Alchemist, so a good choice, banning out that, and we're going to see a Rubik picked up, so that most likely means we're going to see a Nyx mid instead.
Well, Alliance, they picked up another hero who really isn't known for his damage output. I mean,
He's really
still
defensive.
Yeah, I'm still worried about this for Alliance. I'm still thinking to myself, unless that's a mid Nyx, right now their damage output is like non-existent, which I think it actually will be a mid now seeing the Rubik, because you see the second support, so it's kind of like, okay, yeah, it's probably going to be a Nyx mid. So Alliance, they still have the opportunity to pick up their carry here, and Jakiro going to be picked up by Dignitas, and of course Bruno has to use the Ogre Magi for that because we don't actually have a Jakiro.
Well, it's Dignitas. What do you expect when they pick up a Nyx? Or, of course they're going to pick the Jakiro. They really love to run that Jakiro together with the Nyx.
Trance, you didn't even know what Jakiro looks like. Why are you looking through that pile?
Ogre is lying right
Trance
there.
has played like 10 total games of Dota, and he's trying to help out. It was worth it. It was worth it. Whatever happens, karma, it was worth it, Trance.
But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what Alliance wants to go for as the last hero. Like you said, they really need some high-impact carry at this point. But the problem is picking a carry that can be high impact in the mid game. Is he going to work out in the late game against a Lone Druid as well as a Nyx? I mean, pretty much whatever carry they go for at this point, he's still going to have to carry against a Lone Druid who's going to have Empower on the
10
bear,
seconds
as well as a
remaining.
Lifestealer.
Yeah.
It's going to be so hard for him to be the only carry. They're
5
going to have to
seconds
rely on
remaining.
Prophet getting a lot of farm and being a semi-carry as well. Or just go full out split. push.
Wow, they're gonna go with Spectre, even against
Call
a
it.
Lifestealer, a Lone Druid, and they just pick on dying immediately. Like Team Dignitas, they say to themselves, okay, you don't want any damage on your team, basically, for the first 30 minutes of the game. We're gonna pick a team who not only has insane damage, but we have 4 of the tankiest heroes that you're pretty much going to find in Dota, and literally the tankiest support. So, I don't know, man. I feel like Dignitas have a very, very good lineup here. Not to say that Alliance can't compensate for that, but I do have my worries.
I mean, with that Unlying being the last pickup as well, what Dignitas had before was a really... I mean, they had some sustain in the team fight, of course, but it was more burst heavy
Yeah.
with the mag. But now getting an Undying as well with the Tombstone, it doesn't matter that Alliance can survive in the team fights, because the Tombstone is going to be there, and they're going to have the decay spam,
Prepare for
as well as his ultimate being out. So their damage, their sustained damage in team fight is going to be so strong as well. And this aggressive tri lane, it's going to be hard for Loda to farm. It's going to be really hard for him to farm.
Well, we'll see what Alliance can put together here in game number 3. Of course, it is 1-1 right now, and it is the grand finals of the Dreamhack Dota 2 Invitational. And EGM going to be playing on that Rubik. It is S4, by the way, who is going to be going mid on that Nyx. And this is like, I gotta say, I don't typically say things like outdrafted or something like that, but I feel like Alliance, they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves here in this early game. It's different because one team you could say, well, they just need to make sure that they make it to the mid game, but Alliance could just not have a mid game if everything goes right for Dignitas.
It's not just putting a lot of pressure on themselves in the mid game, they're putting a lot of pressure on the Spectre
Yeah.
to get really farmed, because you're kind of forced against his team to go hard, but you don't want to go hard against the Nyx because he's going to just...
Be immortal.
Yeah, pretty much. So you have to go for Diffusal, maybe a quick level 2 upgrade, but you still need that tankiness because their sustained damage and their burst is so strong at Dignitas' side. So
the battle begins.
it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard for Alliance, but it's not impossible though. I mean, if they pull this off with the lineup they have, if they can get some good initiation going from the Nyx, getting some good pickoffs, their team fight is going to be very strong because Spectre can be very, very strong if he gets some good early farm.
Well, Alliance have already rotated their lanes here. They're going to have Spectre going top lane with EGM, and they're going to be against a solo Lone Druid, so Spectre should be able to get some farm. The problem that this kind of raises right now is that a Lone Druid against those two heroes, they're not going to be able to pressure the Lone Druid at all. So even in the case that they do rotate, sure, Loda's going to get some farm, but Aoi isn't going to necessarily feel too much worse for it either.
Yeah, I mean, a Lone Druid is pretty much the best safe laner in the game, just because basically at level 1 you're 2 heroes, because you got that bear, and that bear is super strong at level 1. So he shouldn't really have any problems, and he's actually doing some sneaky stuff where he's stacking with this bear, and he's actually going to pull the lane as well, most likely.
Oh, EGM blocks it. Very, very nicely done.
Nice play.
Notice the bear was going over there, just said, nope, you're not going to get to pull this. And the sentry was dropped, but it's pretty much not going to matter because they started off in the safe lane anyway. And I guess it's kind of hard to realize that, but at the very least they know this time, as long as EGM's not there, they will be able to stack it. And bottom lane is still going to be in Dignitas' favor, like there's no doubt about that. Admiral Bulldog can do a little bit to stop this push, but at the end of the day, Universe is still pretty much going to have free farm. The Spectre and the Lone Druid are probably going to be farming, I would say, about the same. But the one support that they rotated up there was an Undying, so I don't know, man. This game is like really strange so far.
It's really, really weird, but it feels like at this point the lane advantage is really in the hands of Dignitas, and it's pretty much their game to, if I may say, fuck it up in the
Yeah.
early game. Because if they do some big mistakes in this early game, it's going to be very hard for them because the Spectre can get so damn strong if he gets an early Diffusal with his ultimate. He's just going to rip through the supports. Even though Jakiro and Undying are some tanky supports, the Haunt is still going to do a lot of damage.
Well, Fogged currently exploring his opponent's woods for the moment. Admiral Bulldog still kind of just sitting on the tower. And Undying still does have to be careful. There's a Dark Troll Warlord here, picked up by Ake. So if they want to try to go, they could potentially do it now. I mean, they have 3 heroes. Spectre, not necessarily the best tower diving hero in the world, but Again, Aoi is pretty weak before he gets true form. He doesn't have a whole lot of health, so all it's going to take is one decent combo, and they could potentially pick off him. I don't think they could kill the Undying. 1 or 2 decays is probably going to be enough to keep him alive, so they pretty much only have one target at this stage. But so far, everything pretty quiet on both fronts. And the Lifestealer and the Nyx sitting at the 2 highest right now in terms of overall creep score. 14-3 for S4, playing on that Nyx, and then of course 14-1 for Universe. And Sneaking actually decided to put a very early point into Empower. It does help quite a bit with last hitting, just the first point, getting that extra bonus damage, and being able to push the wave just that much harder.
Yeah, and being able to just contest the last hits against the Nyx, because he's going to spam Mana Burn on you, and you're not going to be able to spam the Shockwave, so having that extra Empower is always nice to have, but not really much to say about the mid lane, because it's just not really going to be anything happening. But TP up from Admiral Bulldog.
Oh, big dive going on here from Alliance. Are they going to be able to get the kill? Telekinesis goes off onto... Oh, yeah, this is definitely a kill. There's just no way he can get away from this. Thaybolt's going to be there as well, and they might just turn around and go on Undying. He is only level 2 at the moment. There is going to be a teleport, and it's going to be fogged. Is it going to be enough to actually stop this dive? They want to try to turn it, but Fogg's actually taking a lot of damage himself. He actually stutter steps on his Ice Path. The Dual Breath will eventually beat it. The Tombstone goes down, and right now the Tombstone is dropped, gets taken out actually by Loda, gets the gold for it. He's going to be sending EGM back. Can Ake actually escape too? But no, Universe comes in with the open wounds. EGM eventually goes back to base, but they just made pretty much every single person of Dignitas minus Sneaking go to the top lane to stop that.
Yeah, that was really good play from Alliance, and instantly Loda buys the TP. TP's bottom, because Universe is gone now. So he can pretty much free farm this lane for a few minutes while Universe has to run down to bottom lane again. So he's going to be able to get some last hits, which is going to be really good for him. He's managed to pick up Tranquil Boots as well, so he's going to be able to sustain his lane.
Oh, middle lane. Nyx going to get skewered back. Oh, Universe doesn't have any mana. S4 still could be in some trouble, though. Is he going to go down? The bottle comes back, but it's not going to be enough to save him. So Sneaking evens up the odds here. It's 2-2.
Yep. Really nice pick-off kill as well. Stopping that Nyx from getting level 6 early on is really good, especially when he's one creep from getting level 6. That's kind of frustrating, because if he would have had level 6 before, or right before he died, he would have been able to TP out to whatever lane he wanted to and just get a gank going. But now he has to TP mid, get some experience, and then maybe try and rotate.
Well, Dignitas, I mean, they're still farming very well. You can say the 2 highest farmers, well, 2 of the highest farmers are definitely the Mag, and of course Universe playing on that Lifestealer. But S4, even with that death, he's still farming nicely himself. EGM going to be taken down here probably by Fog. Yep, there we go. Ice Path was off, but fortunately the Dual Breath was not. Aoi managing to pick up his Phase Boots now, so he's got that added mobility, and they just want to contest Loda's farm at the moment, and it's pretty impressive actually that he's still managed to get this many, because for people who don't know, Spectre has probably one of the worst lane presences of any hero ever. And he was against a Lone Druid, which is one of the best heroes pretty much, and being able to harass and such. And even against like 2 heroes, potentially. Aoi is only even on farm with Loda right now.
Yep. I'm a bit surprised to see his spec actually going for maxing out the Spectral Dagger. I'd say is a bit surprising, especially with Spectre having the low mana pool. I mean, getting the Desolate is really good, and the Dispersion can be good as well, especially if you're taking harassment. And he might be in some trouble right now, actually. But it looks like he's going to be able to back out fast enough.
I'm curious to see what his build's going to be. I mean, he is secondary maxing out the Desolate, but like you said, no points in Dispersion just yet. So he's going to die really quick. This build, you're not going to really be that tanky until probably 20-25 minutes into the game when you finally get all your skills maxed out, besides, of course, your ultimates. So S4 going to be spotted in the bottom lane. They definitely know that's real. There's an illusion standing there, but Fog's been hitting the 3-1 the whole time. Fog could be in some trouble now, though. Tombstone goes down. S4 does get the Vendetta off. Troll Warlord's also going to be there. Nice Soul Rip coming out from way too. Ake now getting turned around on. S4 simply just can't go back up onto that Tombstone. Loda trying to take it down now, but he could be dying as well. The Tombstone just way too tanky. The Chen creeps are hitting it, but they end up giving away a kill for no reason. And top lane, Aoi also solo kills Admiral Bulldog, or excuse me, not solo. Looks like Sneaking was there as well. I only saw one on the minimap, but apparently it was 2.
I believe RP was used as well.
Yeah, it was.
So, getting kills everywhere on the map at this point for Dignitas, and this is what's really, really bad for Alliance, because they can't risk losing the early game really, really hard. I mean, they have to get a lot of farm. because they're so farm reliant on this Nature's Prophet as well as the Spectre. They need so much farm on those two heroes to be able to fight against the lineup that Dignitas has, because Dignitas pretty much only need levels, especially on their supports, and they're going to be super strong.
Is under attack.
Well, Bruno referred to one of Dignitas' lineups earlier as greedy. I would say that Alliance's lineup is one of the greediest lineups that I've seen in a really, really long time. You have 2 disables, basically, outside of Carapace, of course, from S4. You have Telekinesis, and then the Impale. So you're basically trying to kill some of the tankiest heroes in the game with 2 disables. It's just so hard to take early engagements like that. They couldn't even kill the Tombstone. That's how little damage they have.
Yeah, I mean, having the Soul Rip early on as well is just so strong. I mean, their sustain in fights is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard for him to just go in on this team. And Spectre needs to go in to do damage because he's a melee hero. As well as Nyx, he needs to go in as well. And Prophet needs to TP in to some good positions. So it's really hard for them to just get in a good position and get some good damage going. But at this point, it's looking good for Dignitas though.
Oh, first
good.
hit entangle onto S4. The Ice Pass going to be there. The Carapace is activated, but Universe doesn't care at all about that. And he's going to chew through S4, pick himself up a kill. And that, I mean, that just felt like a desperation move. It's like, we have to try to do something if we're Alliance right now, but we just can't. The Nyx can't even solo kill any hero on the side of Dignitas. All of them are too tanky, even the Jakiro.
Yeah, and that's the good thing with picking such tanky supports. I mean, Jakiro.
Oh, RP. Almost used. Sneaking actually skewers back in. He really wants this kill. He's going to get the RP off on EGM. Will get it with a Shockwave. Now sprouted in tower range. This could be another one of those situations where he might overcommit, but there's going to be a Soul Rip. He doesn't have any mana. This mana burn's not going to do much of anything. S4 realizes it, not even going to use it.
Has fallen.
He's going to pop the regen and turn around, throw out a Shockwave. And I think this is pretty much going to be where they just part ways. S4 still taking quite a bit of damage, turns around for another Impale and pops the Vendetta pretty much straight away. He's going to go back in. Oh, but his Sprout! The Sprout actually stops the Vendetta. Is he going to go back in for the kill? The Soul Rip's going to be there. Can S4 get the kill? He will secure it with the Mana Burn. Sneaking. Going to try to skewer back. Will hit on S4, but the Chen Heal is going to be there along with another Impale coming out of S4. So a nice turnaround coming out from Alliance, but this entire time, I mean, Universe, he was farming until about a second ago. And then you have Aoi, who's basically getting close to pushing into tier 2.
Yeah, I was just sitting top, and they, like you said, they don't have any disables whatsoever except for the lift, as well as Impale. So they can't really kill Aoi at this point. They pretty much need everything. They need Shen creeps, they need Nyx, as well as Prophet with his ultimate just TPing in to be able to kill off one hero. So at this point, even though they managed to get some really good kills in mid, stopping Mag from getting his Blink Dagger up, it's still looking very good for Dignitas.
Well, we'll see if S4 can have the impact that he wants to. I feel like not giving him a hero like Mag or like Puck, wow, Sentry right on Fog's head. He has that Invis rune. He's going to be impaled. Test of Fate's going to be there. Mana Burn and Ake picked up the kill. Talk about unfortunate timing. I mean, that was like wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, for sure. And a really nice pickup again. I mean,
oh, middle as well. Skewer, going to be a little bit off the mark. EGM going to be able to get the telekinesis off, so Sneaking, unfortunately, not able to do too well with his accuracy so far on the skewers. And, of course, EGM managed to steal that Shockwave. Or, yeah, Shockwave. I thought he was going to try to steal the skewer, but didn't get it in time.
yeah, like it did. I believe it was last game, but first game even. Root going out on Loda, and Loda's picked up a Bracer, so he might just go for drums. But it still feels like, even if he goes for drums, he really needs to get a Diffusal up. At least a level 1 Diffusal to be able to do some kind of damage in these fights.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna be so hard for him to get farm, because Dignitas can really force fights now. They can force fights with the Nyx as well as the Mag if they want to, or just Undying Mag is enough to force fights. And Alliance is gonna have to commit pretty much their whole team to be able to stop that.
Well, Loda is still managing to remain pretty relevant, I would say, at least on the CS scale. Sure, he's behind 3 heroes right now on the side of Dignitas, but he's not really that far behind. Aoi is only 6 CS ahead of him, Snaking's only 3, and then Universe, who pretty much had uncontested farm for the entire game, he's sitting at the top, which is no real surprise. But the real issue is that Lifestealer is going for an Orchid. And an Orchid against Alliance's team, like if they Orchid S4 or they Orchid the Chen, there's like no way they can help I mean, he did pick up a Glove of Haste, so I guess he's finishing his armlet first. But eventually, he's going to have that Orchid, and his damage output is going to be ridiculous. There's going to be a Blink on Sneaking, of course, as well, and about 300 gold. So their initiation potential is far and away more devastating and dangerous than what Alliance's is right now.
Yeah, and then you can have the Nikes inside of the Mag as well, so this lineup at this point is just very, very strong, and they can just go for a push if they want to. Always starting to build up his own.
Ake gonna be in some trouble. Tombstone is dropped. Ice Pass gonna be there. Sneaking, not even gonna have to use the RP. No Chen heal to be seen here. Sentry Ward is dropped, but the Telekinesis is gonna go ahead and stun out on way to, and S4 kind of just running around here, potentially looking for an opening. And I don't know if he realizes there's a sentry there, but there definitely is a sentry there. He will throw out a stun. Sneaking, missing once again with the skewer. There's going to be the open wounds. S4 can be in some trouble now. Carrot baits in 1 second. He's not going to live quite that long as Universe picks up yet another kill. So 5 to 10. Tier 1 tower being pressured top by Loda as the Tier 1 mid is actually going to fall in favor of Dignitas here in just a second. So, I mean, these fights, this is really what we were talking about during the draft. They just don't really have anything.
I mean, they can be so strong, but the way that Dignitas are playing it, they're not leaving any room whatsoever for Loda to be able to farm up. And that just means that they're going to lack so much damage because Spectre is going to be their main damage dealer. And forcing Prophet to come into the fights and try and help defend is going to stop him from farming the jungle. And with them pushing these lanes so aggressively as well, Universe can farm their jungle, which means that Prophet can't be in his own jungle. And it's just so hard for them to be able to get anything at this point. And Dignitas is just going to go for Roche because they know that Alliance can't really contest it.
Sneaking, of course, has his Blink Dagger now. He's a little bit short on mana for his ultimate, but he does have a 9-charge wand, and of course his Arcane's up in just a second. But Dignitas is actually going to go ahead and back out. They do have full vision of the Roshan Pit. They also have a Sentry. As Ake's creeps are going to go ahead and scout out the Roshan Pit and see that, in fact, Dignitas have stopped their attempt, at least for the moment. But Armlet now completed on that Lifestealer. Going to be making his way towards that Orchid soon. There's just this feeling of our team composition just simply doesn't have the tools to fight Dignitas right now. Like, they need more time. And like you were saying, Dignitas aren't really going to give them that room. It's more like, even if they got time, I feel like they would just simply be too far because of their draft. Or too far behind, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, Dignitas got such a strong mid-game lineup that Alliance can't really stop them if they go for 5-man push. But they got a super strong late-game lineup as well, so the Spectre might not even be enough. Even if they let the Spectre farm for 50 minutes, it might not be enough at that point, because Lifestealer, if it goes that late, Lifestealer is going to have so much farm, and always pretty much going to be 8 items up or something like that. So it's just going to be super hard for Alliance to be able to farm this. But I really like that they're actually letting Loda just farm because they know they got the Haunt. So he can, of course, TP into the fights, but still, they can't really do too much against this Roche.
Well, Loda chilling top lane farming. Universe taking quite a bit of damage. They might decide to go on this. Universe is quite low, but nope, they're not going to. No Haunt used at all, but they're going to go straight into S4. RP hits 2, EGM and Ake both right into the Ice Path. The Chen heal is going to be there, but I don't think it's going to be enough to save them. Already 2 down. Rubik and Chen both fall. Tombstone is there as well, and these Chen creeps are not making it home. Not even close. They get the Aegis. They're going to be able to teleport to defend their Tier 1. Admiral Bulldog joined Loda in the top lane, and they do deny it. So even more gold taken away from Alliance.
Yeah, so this is just keep on going the way of Dignitas. And like I said, Alliance can't really fight. They just have to farm and see if they can actually win this late game. But with the early game farm that Dignitas has, they don't want to go back to farming. They're just going to keep on pushing it, especially now when they got Aegis, managed to get 2 pickoff kills. Orchid soon going to be finished up on Universe, like we pointed out. He's picked up the 2nd Oblivion staff, so he just needs 775 gold, of course, to be able to finish that off. But other than that, it's just, yeah, they're so strong at this point, Dignitas.
Well, I think we've kind of went over the inherent weaknesses so far of Alliance lineup, and S4 is going to be able to spot out way too. Admiral Bulldog teleporting in. There is still a Vendetta to be used, and yeah, this is just going to be a free kill. Not really sure why Way2 was wandering around that particular side of the woods, but here comes Sneaking. The Ice Path is going to be there. Ake gets hit by it, but gets skewered out. S4 not going to get hit himself. The Tombstone still doing quite a bit of damage. They want to try to engage. S4 will get sent back to base, but Ake going to be paying with his life. Another Ice Path comes off. Admiral Bulldog not going to be able to TP away. And I guess I was talking about how no real reason for him to be there. Tactical feed.
Yeah, pretty much. Dignitas is really good at that tactical feed. They really know how to bait people out.
Well, Tier 2 most likely going to be under some pressure here. Courier took a little bit of damage himself. And Loda, he is very close to that Diffusal Blade, if that's the path he's going to take. I feel like a Diffusal Blade, it does give him a significant portion of damage, but then he's just not tanky. I feel like he needs so much to be able to get into these fights. Like, he needs a Manta,
He needs
a
3 items at
Diffusal.
least.
Yeah, and it's like, even with 3 items, it's still dangerous, because you can get entangled, the Lifestealer can focus you, and what on the side of Alliance, besides sending you home, are they going to be able to do to save you? And if you get sent home, then the rest of the team's damage is gone.
Yeah.
So I really do feel like Alliance, they have just drafted themselves into this spot.
Yeah, they really drafted themselves into the corner, I feel.
Yeah.
And Loda, he still hasn't picked up an item. What I'm worried about with Loda is that he's going to pick up a Relic and try and go for Radiance. And that's just going to be like,
Tower is under attack.
you can't do anything. Like,
Yeah.
really, you can't do anything with that. He might just go straight for Diffusal level 2, which would be a lot better because he's going to get some damage. But it's still like we said, he needs at least 3 items to be able to be useful, and Dignitas is pushing the base right now.
Well, we'll see if they can manage to defend this. They still have Glyph, of course, if they want to try to use it. And, yeah, the tower's kind of just getting slowly beaten down. Armatoggle and the Baird Universe is going to eat a net from the Dark Troll Warlord and power into Universe now. And they just simply can't defend it. They're just going to sack a Tier 3. They are counter-pressuring the Tier 2 top. S4 going to get Ice Path. He does Carapace, but it's just simply not going to matter. The damage output, just too much. S4 buys back into the game. Infest onto the Chen creeps to heal Universe back to full health. EGM going to be taking quite a bit of damage. Mech is now popped on the side of Dignitas. The Mailer Axe completely exposed at this point. And I just don't know, Wepos, if they're going to have what it takes to actually defend this. Glyph is finally going to be used. And this is the last hurrah. The Glyph is down now, so that means if they rotate bottom and you can't stop that push, then it's GG. But I guess Sneaking is teleporting back to the base right now.
Yeah, they don't want to trade the base at this point, but I'm so surprised by this.
Oh, S4 getting caught out once again. Macropyre is going to be there. Can he at least get fogged before he goes down the mana burn? Not quite. Going to be enough damage as Universe picks up S4. I mean, he picked up a Relic. Now I'm just like, I'm clueless, man.
What can they do? He can't do anything. If he picks up a Radiance, he's going to be able to farm, but they've already lost their axe.
Yeah, you
And
just
they-
lost the barracks, and you say, wait, I need a little bit more time. I need like 10 to 15 more minutes. I'm just going to
least.
get a Relic.
20 minutes at least.
Yeah.
It's just like, at this point, they can just push 2 lanes, and then Snaking can just rotate up to make sure that they can't split push, and then they just go in bottom, because they can't stop them. I mean, the Radiance, it's going to do some nice burn damage, but the supports, like we pointed out on Dignitas' side, are just so damn tanky. It's not going to matter. And they got a mechanism up on the Undying, I believe. Yeah, they got a mechanism as well as a Vit booster. And Jakiro's going Veil. He got a Helm of Iron Will already, so he's just going for Veil at this point.
Yeah, Jakiro has 1100 health. Undying has 1400, and that's before any decays. S4 going to be scouting out here in the top lane. He's going to see Sneaking. He's pretty low at the moment. Might potentially go for the kill. It would pretty much be a death sentence, though. Even if he does get a double stun, I think he would end up dying there. And he's going to decide better of it. Decide to go back. Sneaking working his way towards that refresher, of course. And S4, there's no way he can kill Undying. Like, not even a chance. He's just going to teleport away. He's like, yeah, this is a futile attempt. I'm just going to go back to my base. I don't know what I was doing. I'm drunk. It's fine. And the Tier 2 top going to be pushed in here from Dignitas.
This is a very smart decision to go, because they still got the Tier 1 tower in mid lane as well as bottom. So they're just going to push top instead and make sure that they can't really split push. I mean, Ake and Bulldog are going to try and split push, which is really good. It's going to help them get some gold, but Ake is not going to have any creeps in his base to help defend, and it's going to be another free racks for Dignitas.
Yeah, there's still no Glyph either, so this is basically the second set of racks. Probably just going to be GG soon. Shadowblade picked up by Admiral Bulldog. EGM getting forced out, Sneaking with the cancel on the RP. And that's just 2 sets of free racks. Not entirely sure if the Spectre pick or maybe the Relic was necessarily the right choice. Could be seeing the last fight right here. Admiral Bulldog just getting eaten alive by the Bear, and the Lifestealer eventually drops to Mag S4 has the carapace activated. The tombstone was dropped. S4 being chased away by some zombies right now. Ice Path's going to be a little bit off the mark, but this is just GG. Like, there's absolutely nothing that Alliance can do about this. Oh, man. That's just a nail in the coffin. I expect the GGs. Yep. They're not even going to wait for their heroes to die. They're like, yeah, we can't do anything at all.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it feels like they just picked themselves into a corner. I mean, they gave so many strong heroes to Dignitas, and then in the second phase, they didn't ban out one of the most common supports they go with, which is a really tanky one, Jakiro. They banned out Lesh as well as Lina instead, which is understandable because they're really good with aggressive tri-lane. But they didn't ban out the one that Dignitas always uses. So they just gave them super strong supports and super strong teamfight heroes. And really just picked themselves into a corner.
I don't know, man. Like, I saw the draft. I gave Alliance the benefit of the doubt. Of course, we talked about the worries that they would have in their early game potential not being so great. If this game went to like 50 minutes, I think it would have been okay. Like, they would have been on even footing at 50 minutes. That's a pick that, or a draft that you can't justify that. Like, there's no part of the game where you could say against a lone druid, against a lifestealer, against a mag, that we have one carry and we're trying to take it late.
Yes.
Like, the whole idea behind the lineup to me just felt completely flawed, and that there was pretty much little chance, if any, of success. But, of course, that is going to be the end of game number 3. Give Dignitas 1-up right now in this Best of 5 series. They're now 1 game away from taking out the previous Dreamhack champions.
Yeah. And they're just playing so well at this point. Really played it calm compared to last game, not super aggressive, but they knew when they could play aggressive as well, and they just like play their lineup out as they planned it to. Just playing aggressive when they had some core items up. They had the Blink up, the Undying hit level 6, so he had level 3 Tombstone as well as Decay and Soul Rip, and then they just 5-man pretty much. And Aoi, their lanes were pretty much set up perfectly as well, because what they tried to do was contest Lotus farm, and no Tidehunter or Alliance was just trying to get Loda farm, but it didn't matter whatever lane he went to. The only way he could have been able to get farm was to go mid, maybe. But then it's like, where do you send the Nyx?
Well, it's a Spectre. Like, the Spectre has a hard time farming anywhere. That's why people don't play the hero. But, of course, to help us understand the situation, and of course the previous game, we go back to our resident stat man, Bruno, and of course our observer, Scriff.
You know, Scriff.
What
Sometimes,
do
what you know, I know you know. I know you know, and you know that I know that you know.
I know?
Holy, my brain.
Sometimes we say that matches are lost at the draft phase.
Yeah.
Sometimes we say that matches are lost at the laning phase.
Yeah.
And sometimes matches are lost just because of a difference in skill between teams.
Yeah.
You were saying, I mean, this was a case of being drafted into a corner, yes.
I agree.
I mean, this was a very complicated draft. I understand the idea behind it. It's like we have an Nature's Prophet, we have a Chen. We're going to push and make some room for the Spectre to farm. And hopefully in 40 minutes, with the Radiance and a Heart, we're going to win the game.
Against a carry that destroys that hero,
Yes.
a lone druid and a mag.
I mean,
Yes.
just look at the draft. The first 2 that were picked was a Knight and a Lone Druid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But
it
I'm
was
not done.
like, continue.
But I'm not done.
Continue.
Then we go to, we're saying drafting phase. Then we go to the lanes, and you look at this, right?
Let me get out of here for a bit.
Lone Druid against, they went Lone Druid safe lane, right? So they made a rotation. But initially the Spectre and the Rubik were here, and the Nature's Prophet was against the Lone Druid. They decided we cannot contest the farm of the Spectre against this, which kind of made sense. But then you go here, Spectre and Rubik against the Lone Druid. The Lone Druid wins this lane just by virtue of not being able to just get him out of lane. Just Lone Druid has to stay there. You can't. What are you gonna do? Just right click him with the Rubik. There's nothing you can do. This lane is won. This bottom lane, of course, it's won. It's like an aggressive tri lane against a Chen and a Nature's Prophet, possibly.
Ogre too strong.
I mean, it's Ogre Mage.
Jakiro.
It is a Jakiro, of course.
Weapons.
I don't know where.
Get
It has to be in
glasses.
this room, but I don't know why. I don't know where. So bottom lane lost. Mid lane. Can't say that Magnus wins this lane, but Magnus doesn't lose the lane either. So pretty much he wins it. So
Didn't he get ganked as well?
yeah,
the
they ganked the Nyx after they started 2-0. They made a nice play with some
Which
rotation
pretty
up
much
top.
secures the Blink Dagger from
Yeah.
Mag. And then he's actually kind of won his lane because he gets the blink and gets the arcane boots, and that's pretty much what he needs.
Exactly. So then we see Dignitas again losing in the picking phase. Winning in the picking phase, winning in the lanes, and then we go to execution, and we saw Nyx just trying to go out of Vendetta and canceling the auto attack and going for stuns and just tipping away.
Well, let's be honest. He wasn't killing that
Yeah.
hero anyway.
Well, I mean, then
There's,
why
like, no
did you go
way.
for it to begin
No,
with?
Well, it
I
was
mean,
desperation. Like, what else were they going to do at that
I mean,
stage?
there were lots of plays like that. There were decision-making. Spectre going for the Radiance, which was questionable.
Questionable.
Very.
I don't
So-
know. Like, he's missing his base, and he goes, I just need 20 more minutes. It'll be fine. This is fine.
He thinks he's complexity. Like a year ago when they played against MTW, it's like, we can turtle this, no problem. I'll turn my Radiance off, and we'll farm outside the base.
Yes,
But suddenly no more base.
Help me understand.
really
Bruno.
doesn't work. So
What I really liked as well, after this bottom lane won, like, they just left the Nikes here and rotated these top
Yep.
for a while. And then they crushed that lane even harder. Like, even though Lone Druid don't lose the lane, now they crush the lane. So,
Yep. So lost in the picking phase, lost in the draft phase, lost in execution.
Yeah.
Alliance lost the game, and Team Dignitas won the game.
Oh.
Yes, they did.
Jeez,
So-
Trance. Jeez.
my knees.
Maybe in 2 or 3
By
years.
the way, I'm just saying,
Yes.
2 USC servers, 2 Dignitas wins, 1
You've said
European
that every game
server,
now.
1 Alliance win. But it's been true every single time, so it has to be ironclad. It has to be law.
I'm still saying 3-1 Dignitas. That was my first and initial,
Damn it.
foreshadowing.
Mine is broken.
Yeah, yours is broken.
It's okay, Scroof.
But-
We forgive you, at the
you.
very least. But we're
You
going to
can
be
have an
getting...
Enchantress. Take
Oh,
it with you.
You're getting Enchantress.
Someone with
At least she doesn't have the funny face anymore. That
Yeah,
would have been bad.
she's healing me.
They can't see it. Trance isn't moving the camera. He hates us. But
Whatever.
of course, we don't hate you guys because we're going to be back with game number 4 between these two teams. And right now, Dignitas are 1 win away, of course, from not only qualifying for Dreamhack, but also beating the defending champions in the Invitational here. But we'll see if Alliance can bring it back here right after this.